Good evening, everybody, and welcome to this Scottish Autism Advice Line live event. This is our second event that we've been running. So again, as last week, we've had questions sent in to us, and we're going to answer some of those questions this evening. So my name's Joanna Panesi. I'm the Practice Development Manager for Scottish Autism, and I support our Autism Advice Line through my role. So the first question that we've had sent in to us is for somebody asking for clarity around the relaxed rules for autistic people leaving their home. So for those of you who are not aware, a little while ago the UK government and the Scottish government clarified their position on individuals leaving their home to take exercise, and for individuals with a learning disability or with autism, they're permitted to leave their house for exercise more than once a day, and to visit a place to take exercise that might be out with their local community, and they're permitted to do that. However, we are aware that some people have been kind of challenged about this, and we have produced an alert card to help individuals explain why they might be leaving the house, if they are questioned, and you can find details of that on our website. However, in this case, the individual is using a wheelchair and requires two carers to support them to get in and out of the car, and this, they've kind of been told that this is not allowed at the moment. So, as I said, for autistic people who need to leave their house for exercise, you are permitted to do that. And you are permitted to do that with your carer, and you don't have to observe the social distancing rules if you're with your carer. You must remain at least 2 meters away from anybody who does not live in your household or is not your carer. And you can find full details of those guidelines on the UK government's website, and we've signposted to them, and you can find details of that. Additionally to that, make sure that you're observing your hand washing routines, that you're washing your hands when you return home, and if possible, using a hand gel while you're out and about, just to prevent the spread of the infection. If you are supporting somebody to take exercise, you are permitted to do that as long as you have no symptoms of COVID-19, so that's a high temperature or a consistent cough, and nobody in your household does either. So there's nobody in your household who is isolating due to COVID-19. That you are under 70 years old, you are not pregnant, and you do not have any long-term health conditions that might make you more vulnerable to coronavirus. If you fulfill all of those conditions, then yes, you can leave your house to support another vulnerable person or to care for another vulnerable person. And as I say, there's lots of guidance around this that we've signposted to, so you can actually see the guidance that the government has produced on this. So I hope that kind of helps clarify a little bit around that a bit more for you. Our second question that we've had sent in to us is from a grandparent that's looking for some help and support for their daughter. So the 10-year-old daughter is becoming more and more sort of angry and withdrawn as lockdown continues, and she's struggling to go outdoors. She has a severe phobia of wasps and bees after accidentally disturbing a wasp's nest a few years ago. We're unable to even open windows in the house without her screaming or having a panic attack. Is there anything that you could advise on how to help her? So this must be such a difficult situation for the whole family, particularly for this young girl. First and foremost, take things slowly. Be kind to yourselves. This is an exceptional situation, and we've been I think we're entering sort of week 6 of these conditions, so our kind of resilience to the situation is might come under threat from time to time. So most importantly, take things a day at a time. Be kind to yourselves. As I say, take things slowly. She might need some a kind of outlet for some of that anger and for some of that frustration, and you can look at things that might help, kind of having rip tools, ripping up bits of paper or books or things like that can sometimes help. A worry box might be helpful in this situation. If she's able to, can she write down the things that are really worrying her and pop them in the box? Sometimes that helps, just knowing that they've sort of gone somewhere else, but also you can use it as a kind of reflective tool and maybe talk through some of the things that might be worrying her. But I think, if you can try and open up those dialogues to try and have some discussions about what's really worrying her and what's really making her feel anxious, but go at a pace that suits her. With regards to the kind of phobias around wasps and bees, it's very common phobia. A lot of people experience that. If it is stemmed from what sounds like quite a traumatic experience, your local CALMS team might be able to support in terms of working through some of that. Now they are, overstretched at the moment, but it might be worth asking your GP to make a referral to your CALMS team to try and get some support to around that kind of phobia, if it's preventing her from leaving her home and being able to enjoy her life. In the meantime, you could potentially look at some ways of helping her understand her phobia around wasps and bees, and what to do if you see a wasp or a bee. Kind of doing some kind of role play around that. If you see a wasp, stop, stand still, and walk away calmly. This may take a lot of practice, but actually sometimes seeing you behave in that way is sometimes a useful way of kind of supporting somebody to understand. And sometimes as well, knowledge about something can be hugely helpful. The more we know about something, the less scary they sometimes become. So would she like to, try and find out a bit more information about wasps and bees? Bees actually don't want to sting us. If they sting us, then, they die. And that information sometimes is helpful to know, but it might just help alleviate some of those fears that she has. On a more practical note, sometimes putting net coverings over windows can be helpful, so that windows can be open, but you can see that things can't come in to the house. So even if you're able to put something over the window and then just very gradually, inch by inch, open that window, and give her the control within that, so she decides how much the window is going to be open or how much the door is going to be open. Wearing long sleeved clothing, long trousers, so that there's less skin showing, might give her a little bit of security while she's doing that, knowing that she's protected in that way, could help her. But just gentle encouragement to try and access some fresh air as possible, but go at a pace that suits her, and let her lead the way with it. If she doesn't want to do it, then leave it for that day and maybe try again another day, but taking gradual steps. This might be something that happens over quite a long period of time, but a specialist that you might be able to access through your CALMS team will be able to give you much more kind of detailed support specifically for your child. Okay, so the next question that we've received here is from a grandparent whose daughter has 2 young autistic children living at home. And the youngest one has become a bit destructive within the home, and it's been stripping off and removing his nappy and smearing. And she says that today he broke yet another television, and things are getting really difficult for her daughter. She has no support at the moment, and she notes there that she lives alone, and funds are limited as well. She's not been outside in weeks, and the children are finding lockdown really difficult. and she's not able to have some time for herself. Can we advise her on what support's available to her here and now? So first of all, we'd like to say that we are going to contact you personally in the next couple of days to talk about this more individually for your particular circumstance, because there's a lot going on here, but to also offer your daughter the opportunity to speak to one of our advisors about the things that she's finding difficult in this situation. And to keep those lines of communication open for her, so that she's not alone in this, that she has somebody that she can call, that she can talk to, and we'll try and help her as much as we possibly can, and as well as finding some, practical ongoing support for her as well. So we'll be in touch to this question directly in the next wee while. But in some more general sense, the most kind of primary step in this is to try and establish why some of these behaviours might be happening, and to understand them a little bit more. And is the stripping and the removing the nappy and the smearing, are they is that a stress response? Is that distress behaviour, or actually is he enjoying doing that? Is there some sort of sensory play maybe happening here? So we would want to try and find out a little bit more about that. In these sorts of circumstances as well, it's always worth finding out whether or not little one is feeling well. Sometimes children behave in ways or unexpected ways when actually they may not be feeling well. So, checking for temperatures, rashes, things like that, just sort of, moving those away. So, we know that we're primarily dealing with, something that's not associated with feeling unwell. And as I said, smearing's not unusual. Lots of children smear. Lots of different materials and textures and things like this. He may enjoy the feeling of it. There might be, he might enjoy the texture, he might enjoy the feeling, he might enjoy the movement of his body, the circular motion of his arms as he's smearing. That might be quite enjoyable to him. So it's worth exploring if it is that he's enjoying it. Are there other activities or other things that he could do, that he could smear? So shaving foam or paper mache, they have similar textures and are safe to smear and create less mess. So could he use something like that? Paper mache, he could be involved in making the paper mache. If you've got other children at home, they might enjoy participating in that too. Shaving foam is a reasonably cheap thing that you can get from most supermarkets as well, so it would be too much kind of cost there as well. But it might be worth exploring some of those. On the other side of that as well, he may find having a soiled nappy extremely uncomfortable. It may feel uncomfortable against his skin, or the feeling of the nappy around his waist or around his legs might be feeling uncomfortable as well. And the way to alleviate some of that uncomfort is to remove the nappy, is to get rid of the problem. So if possible, it might be worth exploring different types of nappy. You may have already tried that. Sometimes pull-ups are more helpful because they're less tight around the tummy and tend to be slightly looser on the legs as well, and in some cases a little bit more difficult to get off than a nappy with the rip tabs on the sides. So maybe worth exploring some of that. But many children do find certain clothing uncomfortable. So zips or seams, waistbands, elastics, certain textures, certain cottons, or more sort of rough wools and things like that can be very uncomfortable and elicit a kind of an overwhelming sensory experience for some children. So this little one is still quite young, so still in that phase of sort of getting to know him and what he likes and what he doesn't like. So it might be worth, if you can, trying some different types of clothing and to see what he finds comfortable, and just being led by him in terms of what he feels comfortable in. And also, when we're feeling stressed, when we're worried, when we're anxious about something, when we're struggling to make sense of the world around us, our senses can sometimes go into overdrive. And for autistic individuals and for autistic children in particular, when there's too much information, there's too much sensory information coming in, and they're struggling to process that all, that can be extremely difficult and can sometimes result in what some people refer to as meltdown or shutdown. Sometimes in those cases that can result in things getting broken and a difficult situation within that home. So it could be worth exploring as well if there's things that have changed at home that might be triggering some of that, what you refer to as destructive behaviour. You know, are there people in the home that weren't normally there? You know, you say that there's 2 autistic children, is one maybe at school and now obviously at home because the schools are shut. So all those types of things that change routine can you know, lead to sort of feeling a bit overwhelmed. So it might be worth, and the advisor that will be in contact can talk through and reflect with you some of those life changes that's maybe happened that might be leading to some of this, and hopefully look at some more kind of individualized approaches that might help you. But I hope there's some kind of more general information in there that people will find helpful in these sorts of circumstances. Okay, so the next question we have here is regarding a young autistic girl here, and the question is, how can I create a calm environment for my 11-year-old daughter and minimise self-harm? She's autistic and selectively mute. She's always had high anxiety, but since we've been in lockdown, it's escalated massively. She started hitting herself so hard it bruises far more regularly. She's worried about people she knows catching coronavirus, and also that when she'll be able to go back to school. But on the other side of that, she's also panicked by the schoolwork online, and just mentioning it can cause meltdown. So we've stopped doing schoolwork, but now she's worried about falling behind with her schoolwork. But not doing it is causing more anxiety. She doesn't like talking to friends on FaceTime due to her selective mutism. So she's having little contact with others, and finding it difficult to sleep at night due to panic and feeling sick unless she's sleeping in with mum and listening to a relaxing track. Worried about her level of anxiety and also her falling behind in her schoolwork. How can I reduce her anxiety, reassure her and get her through this strange and difficult time? And I think that's it. This is a very strange and very difficult time for a lot of families and for a lot of autistic people. You know, as I said before, we've been in this situation for a number of weeks now, and we don't know how much longer it's maybe going to last. And that's very difficult for a lot of families and for a lot of autistic people as well. For this young girl, it sounds like you're doing some really lovely things to help reassure her, and she's obviously getting a lot of value and a lot of support from sort of cuddling in with mum and having that time and having that contact with mum. And you know, it might be worth looking at whether or not you can, if mum's able to, you know, kind of look at putting more times for her to do that within the day. And seeing whether or not that just helps reduce some of her anxiety. It's not unusual for children to want to be with a place of safety when they're feeling that their whole world is upside down and in a state of flux. So it might be worth seeing whether or not, if that's possible for mum or for somebody else that your daughter feels safe with, you know, to spend that time with and listen and use some of those strategies that help her feel relaxed. So if that is, you know, listening to a relaxation track, that might help her. With regards to her communication, you know, maybe having written information or pictures might be helpful here to just take that expectation away from her that she must or she needs to communicate verbally. If that's not how she prefers to communicate, then supporting her to explore other ways that she can do that, and reassuring her that that's absolutely fine, and that people will listen to her, and that they will recognise her voice in the way that she wants to put that forward through. Sometimes as well, you know, having a kind of digital chat with each other can sometimes be helpful, and sometimes help unlock some of those worries. You know, can you message each other backwards and forwards? Can she write things down? Can you write to her, and just start opening up that safe space for her to sort of start communicating what's worrying her and what's bothering her. You mentioned that she is specifically worried about people she knows catching coronavirus. You know, can she regularly check in with them? You know, if there's specific people, whether it be grandparents or aunts or uncles, that she can check in and, you know, get that reassurance from them themselves that they're fine. And also look at the ways in which, you know, people are protecting themselves from getting coronavirus, because as I said in one of the previous answers, sometimes having a bit, you know, kind of knowledge about a situation makes it less scary for us. So, you know, maybe doing some kind of and going at a pace that suits her, you know, to kind of explore some of that. Accessing online learning is something that we're getting a lot of questions through the advice line about at the moment. It's an extremely difficult way for children to learn, and some children find it more difficult than others. Don't worry. We are in exceptional circumstances at the moment, and your daughter's mental health and her well-being are far more important at this time than anything else. So making sure that she's well in that respect is more important. Go at a pace that suits her. If she has any ideas herself about how she might like to do her work, you know, and you can explore that with her. Is it about breaking some of these tasks down into much smaller tasks for her to do? Can she access them in a different way? Does it have to be done online? Is it possible for you to have a chat with her form tutor or from somebody within the school to look at other ways that she can access her learning? Because if, you know, equally doing her learning is causing her anxiety, but not doing it as well is also contributing to her anxiety. It's about finding that balance where she feels comfortable. Is there a way to listen to a piece of learning or read about a piece of learning, to approach it in a different way, and that will make her feel a bit more comfortable, a bit more confident in it? And, you know, can she take control of that? Can she inform what that looks like? You know, can she read a chapter of a book and then have a chat with somebody about it through a kind of, you know, an email or a message or something like that, or in another way that she prefers to do that in, and just take the pressure off. But also, you know, if she is able to do a bit, you know, really, you know, celebrating that she's been able to do that and building her confidence in that. But getting the balance right might be the trick to that. And, you know, having a chat with her teacher might be able to help you with that, within that. Structuring her day might also help just sort of alleviate some of that anxiety as well. And as I said earlier, you know, putting some times in the day regularly where she can use some of her relaxation tools, use some of those strategies that help her relax. And can she explore other ones that might help, you know, whether, as you say, it's a relaxation track, white noise, or having scheduled time with someone that she feels safe and secure with. Could a rescue box help in this respect as well? And we detail what rescue box looks like in our wellbeing resources that you'll find on our website. You know, and this really is just a box of special things, of things that make you feel better. It could be photographs, could be pieces of fabric, could be anything that makes her feel better. So when she feels that anxiety starting to rise, when she feels that anxiousness, she knows that she can go to that box and find something that might help her. But again, if you would be more than happy to look at this bit more in depth with you and a bit more kind of individualized. So please do get back in touch with us if there's aspects of that you want to kind of talk through more specifically than we can do tonight. Okay, so our last question of this evening, and this one has been a really quite common inquiry that we've had over the last wee while. So, since lockdown, my child has become increasingly distressed and therefore keen to find out what support is available at this time, because it potentially been feeling for a lot of families that a lot of things have been closing and shutting or changing the way in which they're operating, which can leave parents feeling quite isolated and quite alone at this time. But it's important to remember we are currently in, as I say, unprecedented times. COVID-19 has changed the way in which we are all living our lives. And it's important to keep reaching out to people and trying and building those networks of support if you can. And as I say, we've had a lot of people contact us about this issue. So, as we've said through a number of the answers to the questions, we've created a number of resources around, schooling and well-being and stress and looking after yourself that are available on our website, and you'll find details of that at the end of tonight's presentation. But there's lots of bits and pieces in there that help you understand or start that process of understanding where some of this stress might be coming from. We're also offering the opportunity for individuals who might be in this situation to contact us out with our kind of normal operating hours. So usually we would open our advice line from sort of 10 till 4. We're extending that from 8 AM till 8 PM. So you can, reach out to us and we can talk through your individual circumstance and try and find ways in which you can help reduce some of the distress that your child is experiencing. But also, most importantly in that is how do you look after yourself in that situation as well. And so, we can talk through that as well with you. As a parent as well, you can contact your local carer centre. They are offering online support to families at this time. And many of them are getting super creative with what they can offer and hosting, kind of virtual support groups that you can join in. There's parent-to-parent support available through then. So it really is worth contacting your local carer centre to see what support is available in your specific local area. We also, as I say, have all these resources within our website, and it will help you just try and understand some of that kind of distressed behaviour in that, and how that impacts on the wider family unit at home, and also about where you might find support for yourself within that, and how you might kind of reach out to people to help you navigate your way through that. Stress can present very differently for a lot of people, and it's a very unique thing to us. So it's important to take time to understand what stress and distress looks like for your child, and understand what their stress response looks like for them and how to respond to it. How to support them to use some of their coping strategies when they are distressed and when they are feeling stressed. But for many autistic children, the kind of change in the environment and the fact that we're now all spending the majority of our time at home is really challenging. Some people are finding this easier than others, and therefore it's important to look at your routines within your family and find something that works for you as a family. That's really, really important. There's lots of information being thrown at us all the time about, homeschooling and activities in the home, and we could be doing this then and all of that. But it's really important to find a routine that works for you as a family and helps everybody just, maintain their well-being at this time. It's also really important to try and understand, as I say, what that stress and what that distress looks like for your child, and get an understanding of how are they processing the world around them, what is their imagination, their social imagination like, how are they interacting, how are they communicating. And you can find lots of resources on our Right Click programme that will help you start to explore some of these things. And alongside that, you do get the support of an autism advisor to help you work out what that means for your child, and have that opportunity to reflect on what that might look like for you. So our Right Click programme is a good place to start to understand what some of that looks like for your child. And as I say, there'll be details of those programmes at the end of this presentation. So hopefully that's kind of started to sort of unpack some of what that means for you in terms of what that distress looks like. And as I said, you can find more support on our website or by contacting our advice line. Okay, so that brings us to the end of the questions that we've been sent in this evening, and hopefully you found some of that information interesting and useful to your individual circumstances. As I've said throughout some of the responses this evening, we've got a number of resources available on our website. So we've got information and resources around COVID-19 and how to explain what COVID-19 is, and what social distancing is, and all the measures that we need to take in terms of preventing the spread of COVID-19. And the web address is there for you. I've referenced quite a lot within some of the responses our wellbeing resources that we've created, and they're online for you to access. And there's information for parents, there's information for autistic people themselves. So and please do let us know if you think that we've missed something, or that you want to contribute something to that as well. Obviously, we've spoken about homeschooling and online learning and things like that, and we've got a number of education resources within our website as well. How to support home learning, what might that look like, and resources that you can access to support learning at home. And again, they're available there for you too. As I said, our advice line is available. You can contact us via our email or our online contact form. And as of this week, we've relaunched our phone line as well, so you can contact us through there as well, and I'll give you details of the number. I spoke as well in the last question there about our Right Click programme. So we have a programme for young children, for teenagers and for adults, and you can register for Right Click on our website. We also have one for women and girls that's been produced alongside our colleagues at Swan, and you can find information there about our Right Click programme. So as I said, we've been able to relaunch our phone line, and being able to offer an extended service, which we're calling our Advice Line Plus service. And this will include an extended hours within our advice line. So we'll have advisors available from 8 AM in the morning till 8 PM at night to offer practical support, emotional support, or just somebody to talk to about your circumstance. We will also have a live chat function launching shortly on our website, where you'll be able to directly contact one of our advisors via that live chat, and we'll be able to respond to you immediately, and that we're hoping to launch that soon. We've also launched a new scheme whereby if you're feeling isolated, as many of us are, if you're not able to access normal social groups that you would normally, then you can register for a chat with one of our advisors. You can do that via our website, and one of our advisors will just give you a ring just to see how you are, just to check in, and again to provide a listening ear, and any kind of practical support that you might need in terms of where to go to access food if you are isolating, how to get your medication delivered, that sort of things. So you can register for those calls on our website as well. We will also shortly be launching some closed Facebook groups that you can access via our main Facebook page. We will have 3 groups available to provide support to parents and carers. We will have one where you can ask an advisor a question and somebody will get back to you either via a private message or by responding to your post within the group. And we're also really pleased to launch a group for autistic people themselves, where you can. It's a safe place that you can come, hopefully make contact with other people and just share your experiences, share your concerns, and get help and support through that group. So we're really pleased that we're able to launch those groups for you. I mentioned as well earlier in one of the questions, we've also launched a COVID-19 alert card. We are aware that there have been a number of incidences where autistic individuals and their families have been questioned when they've been out and about taking exercise in line with the new clarified government guidelines. So we've created this card where you can fill in your details. It explains that you have autism and also gives you the opportunity to note within there what support you might need if you need help while you're out and about, and it gives you the opportunity as well to pop in an emergency contact if you need somebody to contact somebody on your behalf. So you can find details of that on our website. We're really pleased to be able to launch that as a physical card, but also as a digital one that you can have on your phone as well. As I say, you can visit our website for further information about all of that offering that we're launching. So upcoming events, we have a couple of events coming shortly. You can join Charlene Tate, our Deputy CEO, on Thursday the 30th of April at 7 o'clock, where she'll be exploring more in depth some of the issues around well-being and what well-being looks like at the moment for autistic people and their families. So that's really well worth a watch if you're able to. Our next Autism Advice Line Live event will be next Wednesday, the 6th of May, at the same time, 8 o'clock. And we'll be asking for questions to be sent in shortly for that event as well. So that just leaves me to say thank you for joining our Autism Advice Line live event. There will be a recording of this event and a transcript of all the questions and the answers available post the event should you require any information. You can link to the live access to the live event from our website, and the Q&A transcript will be available there, and you can see the details of where to find it on our website. Again, follow us. We're on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, YouTube and Instagram, or you can sign up for our e-news to learn more about what we might be doing through this period, but also ongoing into the future, and you can find information about that there. So again, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I hope you found this event really useful, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.